We know this ain't right.
Man, this can't be life.
We gotta unite.
Bill 1014.
Be Frankie.
Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out. We're stuck in the matrix. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out. We're stuck in the matrix. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out. We're stuck in the matrix. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out. We're stuck in the matrix.
Yo, what's good? It's your boy B-Dell. If you're new to this channel, hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell. But today we're going to be breaking down the esoteric complexities of the Galactical Judgment that's predicated upon the endgame prophecy that's connected to the symbology of the letter X, which is the representation of the harbinger of destruction, reformation, and transformation, right? So with all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, get your notes out because we got a lot of information to cover tonight. So we're going to break this down esoterically, occultically, and Freemasonically, right? Because everything coincides with each other right now. You got a lot of things that's taking place on the planet that's connected to the galactical pole shift. Everything is going through a metamorphic shift, and that metamorphic shift is based on the end of a certain demographic, and it's the end of a certain corporation that's connected to the Piscean age, right? So everything that's taking place right now is connected to the fact that it's based on galactical judgment, right? So I put out this, I formulated something for you guys to get an intuitive understanding about the symbology of the letter X. So the symbology of the letter X is basically a process of transformation. It's a process of revitalization. It's a revitalization process because you're getting from the Piscean age, the age of Aries, and the age of Taurus that was galvanized by the clay age, which is connected to the Shaitan, right? Which is your biological form of your so-called devil, right? We're going to get into that because that's all connected to the Canaanite bloodline that implemented patriarchy over the planet, through the planet off a spiritual shift, right? So the X is basically a transformation process. You're going from a patriarchal energy to a matriarchal energy, right? So when you read up here verbatim, I put up, it says the ancient symbol for change and transformation, right? Which is based on and connected to medieval Scottish Rite Freemasonic mythology, right? So we also got to go over to the fact that when you look at these movies, you're talking about the letter X, right? The letter X is connected to the X chromosome, and that chromosome in itself is connected to the divine feminine energy because the inception of the planet, everybody knows that there were women on the planet first, right? When you understand the mythology of the whole Anunnaki story, when a woman gave 2.8% of her chromosomes to create mankind, right? So that 2.8%, that is a genetic mutation. So the X gene is connected to a matriarchal energy that's connected to nature, and carbon is the building block of all civilization. So that carbon lets you know that blackness was on the planet first, a so-called black woman. So this return of the divine feminine energy is these X solar flares, and these X solar flares is a form of coronal mass ejection that has an acute radiation syndrome that activates the planet due to plasma discharges, right? So this is how you activate the X gene that's connected to your metaphysical abilities, because the X is also the symbology of the intersection of the physical and the spiritual world copulating together to reverse the polarity that was dematerialized by the cursed bloodline, right? So this is where you reap the benefits of your genetical faculties when you're talking about these higher abilities that's connected to the Bathari gland, because when you look at the word bara and the suffix of it, it means a new space and time in the cuneiform language. So the Bathari gland, when you go through a different space and time, right? Because when light breaks into a dimension, it reverses the polarity of time. So when these light energies, these X-class solar flares come to the planet, that activates the dormant X genes within your body to where you become a so-called X-Man, right? So like I said, X is very prevalent to everything that's taking place, because X, like I said, there's a dualistic principle behind it. X is also the symbology of death. It's also the symbology of an ancient Egyptian connection when you're talking about the sun god Osiris, right? When you understand that Kemetic mythology of it. So everything that's taking place right now is really, going through a metamorphic shift when you understand the precession of the equinox, because when you flip the precession of the equinox, the 24,000 verification period, when you flip it, your pole shift, it is the symbology of the letter X. We're going to get into that. So like I said, X is a symbol of transformation, right? So it's not a coincidence that they demonize all throughout, sexual proclivities and the sexual over-sexualization of Western civilization. What they do is, like I said, they supplicate your emotions and transmute it into a weakness, because they know that your weakness is connected to the material world. So with that being said, your spiritual energy is connected to your sexual energy. So when you go online, you're talking about XXX. XXX is also the symbology of 666, which is the activation of the God mind and the God body and the spiritual body, right? Which is your personification of the carbon body, 6 electrons, 6 protons, 6 neutrons, XXX, because they know your sexual energy merged in with your sexual energy merged in with your spiritual energy activates the biological function of who you are to tap into these higher abilities, right? Because your sexual fuel is the cosmic passport on how you leave the matrix system, right? So like I said, all this is connected to the fact that it's based on transformation, right? So like I said, now I got to bring this back up, because like I said, you got the solar eclipse on October 14th, which is my birthday, coming up this year, right? And then you got the April 8th, 2024. Then you got the April 8th, 2024 solar eclipse. That's basically going to put an X over the planet, which is your symbology of judgment. So that is the return of the ancestral energy. And that ancestral energy is colossal coronal mass ejections that activates the God mind and the God body, right? Which is the unification of the ascension process, merging in with the symbology of the letter X, the physical world and the spiritual world crossing over, right? So this is what's taking place right now. This is where you get your so-called spiritual shift, right? And these new energies is coming out. I told you about the open vortex, which is the inception point of August 12th. So when you see these trilateral triangles, this is acute radiation that has a textural angular radiation that creates a tetrahedron energy. I told you in the last video, tetrahedron energies has the ability to activate the magnetic pole shift. So now we're going to scoot back a little bit. So now, I don't know what happened right there. They freezing up on us. So this fire triangle, right? You got oxygen, heat, and fuel, which creates a chemical reaction that activates the carbon body that's connected to the energy of nature. So that tetrahedron energy, that tetraangular radiation, creates an acute radiation syndrome that activates everything on the planet, right? So this is why you got, a form of a hydrological cycle. You got an oxygen cycle. Everything is going through a metamorphic shift. That means that there's an ascension process that activates these energies of nature on the planet. When you're talking about the atmospheric radiation, the photosynthesis radiation, When you're talking about everything that's assimilated, that's connected to the biomass of the planet, right? Which is connected to the organic matter. So now when you look at the 4 elemental compounds, earth, wind, water, fire, fire is a representation of nitrogen, air is a representation of oxygen, water is a representation of hydrogen, earth is a representation of carbon. So when you amalgamate these 4 elemental compounds that's connected to the X-class solar flares on the planet, these are colossal coronal mass ejections, right? That creates a plasma discharge. And that plasma discharge, it activates everything on the planet. So this is connected to Westernized science when you're talking about Aristotle's theory of earth, wind, water, fire. So these are the basic alchemical elements that activates everything going through the precession of the equinox. Because when you look at the symbology of this chart, when you looking at the elements, you got, it looks just like the 24,000 year verification period, the cycle, right? Because you're going from sun cycle, lunar cycle, and the end of the sun cycle, right? So that means that nature in itself is connected to the 4 horsemen, right? The 4 horses of the Bible. That's what it's talking about. It's talking about an activation of nature on the planet. So with that being said, like I said, you got hydrogen as an element, oxygen is an element, and then when hydrogen and oxygen basically copulate together, it creates a compound of water. So that's why it's not a coincidence when you have the plasma discharges, right? When you have the plasma discharges, what happened in Lake Lanier in Georgia? Man dies after being electrocuted when he jumped into Georgia Lake. That's because, like I said, everything in nature has a electrical signals, meaning that it vibrates on the visible light spectrum, which is UV radiation, which is a detoxifier. And that detoxifier in itself is activating everything on the planet, right? It's activating everything on the planet. So, hold on for a second. Let me make sure my alarm don't come back on. Everything is getting activated on the planet. So these compounds and these properties copulated with these new energies that's coming in, you know what I'm saying? That's what's creating the magnetic potion, because it creates a tetrahedron energy. The tetrahedron energy is basically going to revamp the revitalization of everything that's connected to matriarchy, that's connected to nature. Because like I said, nature must take back the planet from the cursed bloodline that threw off the planet due to the materialistic afflictions that's taking place right now. Right? So we're going to get back to this. We're going to get back to this. So that's why I'm saying you got these new energies. So when you even looking at this, these are tetrahedron energies, right? So this is where you get your so-called open vortex that just happened yesterday, right? You got these new energies coming in. These new energies is the unification of the spiritual world crossing over the X with the physical world, right? So this is where you're going to get, this is why they're talking about an influx of, extraterrestrials and invading the planet and all this stuff that's happening in Peru, right? So I'm going to show you this video for a second. Because these new energies, right, you're going through a dimensional shift. And that dimensional shift connects you to the space-time continuum, right? Connecting you to the higher dimensions, to where you can see these entities, because like I said, you can only see 10% of the electromagnetic spectrum. So since you can only see 10% of the electromagnetic spectrum, when you have the physical world merging in with the spiritual world, that activates the spiritual eye to where you can see these entities, right? So this is why you had this extraterrestrial invasion that took place in Peru. You got the spiritual world copulating with the physical world. So this is why these entities are starting to pop up.
Instante en que los habitantes le disparan a los supuestos seres, como ven, en medio de la noche. Los vecinos dicen que están aterrorizados. Ellos describieron a los entes como gigantes que miden casi 7 pies de altura.
You said it's like giants that are 7 feet tall. You see what I'm saying? This kind of like the same ones that Norman Bergman was talking about when he said he see these black beings, basically the Saturnians. The Saturnians are basically your fallen angel or the cherubim of your so-called Bible when you understand biblical context, right? So these 7-foot beings, you know what I'm saying? These are the Saturnians that's coming to the planet, right? To throw off the spiritual frequency, the cherubim, right? To take away the chosen.
Y que visten trajes que parecen de astronautas. Vamos a escuchar.
Son extraterrestres estos señores, son vestidos con blindados, son tipo del hombre verde que parecía el hombre araña, igualitos, son señores, Dios les valió 2 veces y no caen, en vez de que caen se elevan y se desaparecen, señores.
Los miembros de la comunidad están haciendo vigilias por las noches para protegerse y tratar de capturar a los supuestos seres extraterrestres que dicen habrían atacado a una joven.
Yeah, so family.
So, matter of fact, shout out to Sargon for putting that out, right? Shout out to him. You like I said, that when you have the crossing over, right? The physical world merging in with the spiritual world, the symbology of the letter X, which is a representation of transformation, a pole shift. This is where you see these beings, right? Not a coincidence. So now this is where you get into that's also connected to the letter X. Everybody knows when you understand deep esoteric history, when you understand the Masonic codes on how they hit everything through patriarchy, the Confederate flag is also the symbology of the letter X, right? Which is connected to Planet X, because the Confederate flag is really a galactic flag. It's a galactic flag because it's connected to the Iroquois Nation, and the Iroquois Nation is connected to the 5 civilized tribes. When you're talking about the Choctaw, the Wichita, the Cherokee, these are all the 5 civilized tribes that was basically facilitated when you understand the 1848 Supreme Court decision on June 8th. It tells you verbatim that the geographical holders of the title holders of the geographical landmass of America belongs to the MERS, which are the indigenous tribes that's connected to the planet, that was basically jump-started by the original beings that came down to this planet. So it's not a coincidence that you have 13 stars, because 13 is connected to the symbology of the Sirius star constellation. So this is a galactic flag that really belongs to us. It really doesn't belong to the European infrastructure of your so-called systemic racism, right? So like I said, X is also the inception point of a matriarchal energy. So the Iroquois Nation, these are matriarchal civilizations, right? Which is your symbology of a letter X, because it was created by the divine feminine. The divine feminine, when you look at the woman, her genetical structure, right, is the symbology of a letter X, the X chromosome, right? So this is why when you look at this, the British flag, right, which is basically puts an encryption over the Confederate flag that was created by our people, right? Because when you put a cross or a crucifix over a matriarchal energy, that is basically a patriarchy galvanizing the energy of a matriarch and taking over everything through colonization. That's why you had the 13 British colonies that came over here. When you're talking about these missionaries that were sent over here by the Black nobility. So the crucifix in itself is a representation of politics, war, and theocracy. And theocracy is galvanized by a fictitious God that controls the corporate system that was facilitated by a patriarchal energy that's connected to monotheistic religion and these Freemasonic rites and orders, right? So that's what that represents right there. So it's not a coincidence that, you know, the corporate system in itself that was galvanized by patriarchy, which is why they put an encryption over the matriarchal energy, because what created this this concept of a matrix system is the monetary world. Everything is based on capitalism, right? The capitalist infrastructure of the matrix system that is created by the economic system, right? Where you got Wall Street and the Federal Reserve System, because everything is connected to a corporation. When you go to the 27 CFR 72.11, it tells you that it's connected to the 1913 Federal Reserve Act, and that everything is connected to patriarchy. Patriarchy and capitalism goes hand in hand because it basically reverses the polarity of matriarchy. So now, I had to bring that up. You know what I'm saying? Because I told you, everything's connected to the symbology of the letter X, right? So when you're looking at the precession change, right? Right here, you see the circumference and the diameter and the radius of everything that's created by nature, which is on planet Earth, which is your symbology of carbon. So you have these energy points. You got the, like I said, you got the 6,000 years of the sun cycle, lunar cycle, and then you have the last sun cycle right here, which is galvanized by the energy of Libra, which is your golden age. I'm a Libra. So everything reached the benefits of balancing everything out on the planet, because that's based on the scales of Ma'at. Balancement is basically judgment, meaning that you come into the planet to dematerialize the injustices that was created by the people who don't even belong on this planet, right? So that's why you having judgment, because I told you, judgment in itself is what you got to understand is you got a certain bloodline on the planet that galvanized this corporate system, this matrix system. And these are basically the 11 sons of Canaan that copulated with the 200 fallen angels who are your cherubim of your so-called Bible. So you got the Sidonites, the Hittites, the Jejubites, the Amorites, the Girgashites. The Girgashites is the cursed seed, right, that was genetically grafted. That's how you got your so-called concept of a pig. I already broke that down. So this is why you could take a pig heart and put it inside. You can take a pig heart and put it inside the genetical structure of a Canaanite, because they are the cursed seed, which is why it tells you through Levitical law that you're not supposed to eat pork, because pork is a cursed animal. Then you got the Hivites, the Archites, the Sinites. Then you got the Ardavites, the Zemarites, and then you got the Hanamites. So these are basically, when you read the book, The Secret Age of All Teachings, it tells you that, you know, this pole ship in itself is not connected to the Canaanite bloodline, meaning that there's a verification point to where they got to be eradicated off the planet, because their corporate system, which is your so-called 13 bloodlines of the Illuminati, that's why it tells you right here, I got to bring it back up. It says that the evil reptilian is going to give their kingdom to the beast. The reptilian is your draconian bloodline, the draconian bloodline that came down and amalgamated with the Canaanite bloodline. So they were cursed with leprosy, right? So when you get cursed with leprosy, right, I'm going to show you how all this is basically connected. It's crazy. I got to find it, right? These X-class solar flares that's coming in, there's a leprosy starting to break out, in Florida, right? That's because they part of the cursed bloodline. So these X-class solar flares, right, has a cosmic radiation, and it has a piezoelectrical frequency, meaning that if you're not submerged into the glow and the discharge of these coronal mass ejections that's hitting the planet, there's no ascension process for you. So that's why in Freemasonry, they go through a process called Jacob's Ladder. They stop at 33 degrees because 33 is connected to the fifth chakra, right? Because the fifth chakra is synonymous to the 33rd vertebrae. So they can't activate anything after the fifth sense. So when you can't activate anything after the fifth sense, that means that you can't connect to the spiritual world. You can only be stuck in the physical. Because I told you the symbology of the letter X, you got the physical world merging in with the spiritual world. That is what it's basically talking about. So you got these coronal mass ejections that's hitting the planet that has a plasma discharge. So when you're talking about the cursed bloodline, right? That cursed bloodline is your so-called beast. The beast is the one that controls everything. So that's why these solar eclipses that's coming in, you know what I'm saying? You got the one on my birthday, you got the one on April 8th in 2024. That is a symbology of judgment. That is basically the eradication of the material world that's created by the 13 bloodlines of your Illuminati, who was galvanized by the 11 sons of Canaan that I just named, right? This is the end of the corporate system that was facilitated by the cursed bloodline, right? So this is why you got to read this. You got to get this movie right here. I don't know what happened there. It keeps pausing it. They really don't want me putting this information out. It's crazy. This is why you gotta watch this movie right here. Now, this movie, I need everybody to go watch this movie. This movie basically pretty much puts everything in perspective. So when you're looking at the illustration of the cover, it tells you the last voyage of the Demeter. Demeter, when you understand the etymology of it, Demeter is basically the daughter of Kronos, which is connected to Kratos, chronology, meaning that you're trapped in an artificial time analysis mechanism, meaning that the matrix system, the time analysis mechanism, you trapped in time that was created by a corporate system. So that's why when you break down the suffix of the word democracy, Kratos, Chronos, that is connected to the Canaanite bloodline that got their power from the evil reptilian, the beast, the vampire, the Dracula that you're looking at right here, right? So it's not a coincidence in the movie when you look at the coffin of the Dracula, it had this emblem on the right. When you're looking at the British royal symbols, right? All these royal families got the dragon on it because the dragon is actually connected to Draconian, or God, or governmental ordinance departments that's connected to a Draconian law, right? Because our Draconian law is the matrix system that was created by the evil reptilian and get their power to the beast. So you got the red dragon right here, this red dragon, right? When you look at the movie, when you look at Dracula's coffin, it had the red dragon on top of or it just had a dragon on it, had the sigil of a dragon on top of the coffin. That tells you the connection of the reptilian bloodline, which is your Draconian or the cherubim of the fallen that was casted out by Anu when they went against the order of Anu. That is 1/3 of the galaxy that went against Anu. They was casted out. These are your Saturnians. So now, when you get into the plot of the movie, right? The woman, she was cursed, right? Her genetical structure was cursed because when she got bit by this Draconian, this evil reptilian, that is the symbology of a form of a transformation of power. So when she got bit by this Draconian or Dracula, right, he was feeding off her energy. So that is where you get your concept of leprosy, because of leprosy, the leprosy genetical structure of the Canaanite, that is when they basically got the spirit of Azazel, who is Lucifer of the Bible, your fallen angel. So what happened is the woman, she needed a blood transfusion, and she was basically she was able to live a lot more longer when she got the blood transfusion from him. But when these other people on the boat, these other demographics of people on the boat, the European, when they needed a transfusion, what happens is they didn't get the transfusion from him. They got it from other people who were basically Europeans, and they actually died off. So she was able to live a lot longer than everybody else. So within the movie, when these people got cursed with the bite of the Draconian reptilian, they wasn't able to go out into the sun, right? Which is connected to the symbology of the letter X. These X-class solar flares that's hitting the planet is galvanized by a sun cycle. We all know that Dracula can't be in the damn sun. We all know that, a certain demographic of the European cannot be in the sun, right? And the reason they cannot be in the sun is because they got their power from the evil reptilian. I'm going to go back to it. The evil reptilian got their power from the beast, right? Evil reptilian that's going to give their kingdom to the beast. The beast is the Canaanite. The evil reptilian is the cherubim. The cherubim, the fallen who came to this planet, who is your evil reptilian or Draconian or Dracula, right? So it's not a coincidence that within the movie, when she, at the end of the movie, when she wouldn't get no more transfusions from this melanated man right here, she basically, it caused a chemical combustion. And that chemical combustion is, like I said, it's a symbology of judgment because everything is being activated on the planet, right? So they weren't able to stand in the sun. So now, within the movie, Dracula, he didn't die. So what happens is when they reached a voyage, when the ship reached the voyage over into London, right? London is connected to the fact that is when you're talking about the British monarchy system and the corporate system, that's how you knew that they galvanized the Federal Reserve System. So when you see, I think this is a Rothschild or a Rockefeller, I'm not sure. It's not a coincidence that at the end of the movie, the Dracula shapeshifted and he was able to take human form that looks just like this man right here in the movie, right? This is not the movie. This is the actual footage of a Rothschild or a Rockefeller. But at the end of the movie, you know what I'm saying? He is the Black Hat. The Black Hat is connected to the fact that they're being controlled by the black nobility, right? So this evil reptilian, right, the shapeshifter, when he shapeshifted, he looked just like this Rockefeller or this Rothschilds that you're looking at the end of the movie. And he basically vanished into the dark of the night and basically started to copulate with society. He was able to blend in with society because he was feeding off everybody in the movie, you know what I'm saying, to where he could maintain a human vessel. And he looks just like this man right here. I kid you not. So you got to watch this movie right here, The Last Voyage to Demeter. So like I said, everybody know that the Black Hats are the ones who, this is, you know what I'm saying, it's a form of alchemical black magic sorcery that's connected to the Freemasonic rites, right? So you got to watch that movie because it's connected to the mythology that's connected to everything that's taking place right now. Not a coincidence. Now, so like I said, when you're talking about these chemical combustions, these combustion reactions that's taking place on the planet, when you have a cursed bloodline that was that copulated with the evil reptilian, you get cursed with leprosy. That's when you're talking about in the Bible, in the book of Enoch, it tells you that the fallen angels made it with the daughters of men. The daughters of man is the Canaanite. So when you have the vampiric disease, that's what creates a combustion reaction, the chemical reaction of a hydrocarbon, oxygen, carbon dioxide, water, heat, meaning that you can't withstand these X solar flares that's coming to the planet. It'll basically make your genetical structure dematerialize because you don't belong to the planet, because the fallen don't belong to the planet, right? So like I said, this combustion, like I said, heat and light breaks into a dimension and reverses the polarity of time because time was created by the Canaanite who got their power from the evil reptilian, right? We want to break it down today, man. What is this? So with that being said, now, like I said, we be freestyling. I don't know how this video, how I'll be putting it together, but we put it together. So that's why it's not a coincidence, you know what I'm saying? You got these new energies coming in. This is why you have stuff like this going on in our skies, in the atmosphere. You got these X solar flares, these X-class solar flares is merging in everything, the spiritual world copulating with the physical world. So this is why you're seeing a basically a cloaked UFO, right?
What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that?
Pause. You see that cloaked UFO in the background, like I said, you know what I'm saying? They're able to cloak themselves because everything in nature works off electrical signals, right? When you understand something about the merging in of the dimensions, it's converted into an omnicron-based atmosphere, meaning that it's able to feed off the energy of the material world to where it can cloak these spaceships. So that's why you're looking at this cloaked spaceship. So like I said, man, it's not a coincidence. You're going to start seeing a lot more stuff because, like I said, it's the open vortex, right? It's the open vortex. So this is why you got this interview going on. They try to give you full disclosure. They're giving you full disclosure because I told you, The physical world merging in with the spiritual world. The spiritual world is where you see these new galactical beings coming to this planet. You're going to start seeing a lot more UFO activity. You're going to start seeing a lot more of these so-called invasions. When you're talking about that video that I showed you in the beginning of the video, that alien invasion that took place in Peru. When you're talking about those 7-foot beings that basically is basically kind of like the same characteristics of the people of the beings that Norman Burgum broke down when you're talking about the Saturnians.
Intelligent extraterrestrials.
Something I can't discuss in public setting.
Okay, I can't ask when you think this occurred. If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came to some of these recoveries. Yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
And was this documentary evidence, this video, photos, eyewitness? Like, how would that be determined?
The specific documentation I would have to talk to you in a skiff about.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. So, and you may or may not be able to answer my last question, and maybe we get into a skiff at the next hearing that we have, but who in the government, either what agency, sub-agency, what contractors, who should be called into the next hearing about UAPs, either in a public setting or even in a private setting? And you probably can't name names, but what agencies or organizations, contractors, et cetera, do we need to call in to get these questions answered, whether it's about funding, what programs are happening, and what's out there?
I can give you a specific cooperative and hostile witness list of specific individuals that were in those.
And how soon can we get that list?
I'm happy to provide that to you after the hearing.
Super. Thank you. And
So like I said, man, everything's taking place right now is not a coincidence, because like I said, the merging of the physical world and the spiritual world, they got to give you the reality of extraterrestrials. They got to give it to you. They have to, you know what I'm saying, which is connected to the threefold law. So like I said, you have the merging of dimensions, you know what I'm saying? And when you have a merging of dimensions, right, you know, that creates an influx of energy. Right? It creates an influx of energy. Let me see where we're going to go. I told you, everything that's taking place right now, I think it's on this. Everything that's taking place right now, hold on. When you're looking at this open vortex, like I told you, you got an influx of energies coming in that connect you to the space-time continuum, right? Meaning that it's locking in on a different energy. You got a dimensional shift that's taking place, right? Which was the inception point. You got these incremental energies that come in from 1943 all the way up into 2023, and it goes all the way to 2043, right? It's a cyclone of supersonic energy that's in the planet, right? These are new energy shift that's coming in, so they got to prepare you for everything that's taking place, because these new energies is what's going to activate the magnetic pole shift, right? So when you go to Revelation 8:12, right, the fourth angel sounded, and the third part of the sun was written, and the third part of the moon, and the third part of the stars, and the third part of the darkened day. It's basically like a revitalization process. So it's an extreme importance that the balance of the earth has to go back into its original energy. Because I told you, when you're looking at the scales of Ma'at, Ma is the same. When you look at the word matriarch or Ma'at, M-A, that it connects you to Mother Nature. So everything in nature has to go back in balance of the earth when you have these magnetic pole shift that's taking place, right? So meaning that everything must speed into a certain vibration, right? And then speeding up in the vibration to where you activate the seventh seal, which is going to be happening around 2025, when I was telling you about you know, these blackouts and things of that nature, right? So all this stuff is, you know, connected to the fact that these new cycles, these new solar transmissions that's in the planet, it has a form of acute radiation syndrome, right? So meaning that if your mental faculties is not connected to the planet, it can be detrimental for you. It can be detrimental for you in so many ways. And the reason it is because I told you, you got the golden age, you got the silver age, then you got the bronze age, then you got the iron age. The iron age was created by the evil reptilian who gave the power to the beast, the age of Pisces, Aries, and Taurus. The golden age is galvanized by Libra. I'm a Libra. This is the balance of energies, the scales of my yacht. So when you balance everything back on the planet, that's when nature takes over. So this is why you're starting to see stuff like this taking place in Hawaii, right?
Yeah, we're done. Be careful right here. There's debris. Yeah. No. No.
You see, the thing about this is that, like I said, if everything is catching fire on the planet, that means that you need carbon in order to withstand its energies. So that's when you, like I said, when you are part of the cursed bloodline, you know, that means that you need certain genetical properties in order to survive the shift. The material world was created by the Canaanite. The Canaanite that's connected to the material world, there's no ascension process. So just like how these things, everything in nature is going up into flames, the people who created the material world, they're going to go up into flames because they don't have the genetical faculties to survive the shift. This pole shift is this pole shift, once you get around like 2024, 25, that's when everything is really just going to start, you know, speeding up in vibration. You're going to start seeing a lot more wildfires, volcano eruptions. You're going to start seeing a lot more of this stuff. Because a golden age is connected to the spiritual world, right? So this is why all this stuff is taking place. It's not a coincidence. You know what I'm saying? This is the pole shift. You got these new conduction of energies and discharges, plasma discharge, when it copulates with the 4 alchemical elements on the planet. When you understand scholarship and forensic, geographical, and cosmological energies, when you have these 4 elemental compounds, earth, wind, water, fire, when they copulate with these X solar flares, that activates everything on the planet.
Because the eruption is so new. What if there's new issues that could open up? Yeah. But they have to get it for the ground. They have to get it for the ground, right?
And as I told you before, volcanoes are the pimples of planet Earth, right? Volcanoes are the pimples of planet Earth. That's why you're seeing all these new energies coming in. And when you have an influx of these energies coming in, right, this is where you get your whole concept of the Aquarian symbol. When you have these galactical waters, these new energies, the cosmic energy, the divine feminine energy that's coming from the 4th and the 5th dimension and pouring down onto the surface of the planet, right? So that's why when you watch this video, it shows you that you have these new energies, cosmic energy pouring down to the planet, right? Cosmic radiation, plasma radiation, right? So this is the symbology of the Aquarian symbol when you're looking at the Aquarian age. Because when you look at the symbol, it shows you a Nephilim holding up a pitcher of water, pouring these cosmic energies down, right? Which is basically going to dematerialize the material world. And this is why you start to see all this phenomenon that's taking place. Not a coincidence. And these new energies is coming in. This is going to cause the blackout. This is why this guy, I'm not sure what country he's from. I know he's over somewhere in Africa. And it says in the next 2 weeks, we have been warned we are going to be in darkness.
In the next 2 weeks, we've been warned. There's going to be darkness. We're almost at a point of grid collapse. It's a reality that South Africans must know, that we're heading to darkness, and ANC politicians are continuing business as usual, as if we are not in a crisis. We are in a deep, deep, deep crisis. Cell phone networks will not work. Water, even if we have it, we won't receive it because it needs electricity. Nothing is going to function. We're heading for a disaster.
So like I said, this is not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that the World Economic Forum said verbatim that there is going to be an inevitable blackout, right? And these blackouts is because you have the cosmic energy coming in, right? That dematerialize the electrical grid, the grid node of the planet that works in symbiotic connection on the quadrants of the moon, right? Because I told you the moon energy is galvanized by the Piscean age, the age of Aries, and the age of Taurus, right? We're coming out of the Iron Age because the Iron Age was created by the Canaanite. You go to this passage right here by Dr. York called Secret Societies Unmasked, right? It tells you that the fallen, right? That the fallen only have a 6,000 year verification period. So that's why when you understand the mythology of Yaqub, it tells you that I will create a people that will have 6,000 years dominion over you on planet Earth. And that 6,000 year verification period is up. So that's why when you break down the etymological roots of the word shaitan, it means wicked and recessive. And wicked and recessive, meaning that you are in the age of clay. Clay is galvanized by the Piscean energy. So when you understand scholarship and ontological forensic investigation, it tells you that the Canaanite is actually shaitan, right? Shaitan that copulated with the cherubim, who was the 200 fallen angels, who are your draconian evil reptilian that went against the order of Anu and was casted out. So these are your Saturnians. The Saturnians that Norman Berger was talking about, the Saturnians that invaded Peru, the Saturnians, because when you understand Saturn is a gas planet. It's a fallen planet, which is why it's bounded by a ring, the magneto-hydrodynamic rings of Saturn that creates the holographic projection that's projected by the moon and onto planet Earth. So these beings or whatever, you know what I'm saying, when they came down, you're talking about Azazel, Bilbis, or Lucifer, and it's, you know, Lucifer, they copulated with the Canaanite, and they gave their power to them. And their power is galvanized by technology, artificial intelligence, technological devices. So that's why I said when the grid goes down, this is the end of the beast system. You know what I'm saying? It's the end of the kingdom of the Canaanite. They got their power from the evil reptilian, right? So when the grid goes down, that's when you're going to start seeing a lot of, you know, so-called extraterrestrial phenomenon, right? So you got to get that book, Secret Societies Unmasked by Dr. Malachi Z. York. So, as I was saying before, let's see, I got some more stuff for you. Like I said, it's the end of the Canaanite. So, you know what I'm saying? Everybody, whether they, you know, believe it or not, you know what I'm saying? Energy don't lie. You know what I'm saying? Energy is something that can't be compromised. You know what I'm saying? You can read energy. You know what I'm saying? Some people, you know what I'm saying, can read between the lines when they're looking at books and looking at stuff on TV, but a real chosen one that has an activated spiritual eye can read between energy. So when you're able to read between energy, you know, certain people in certain demographics knows, you know what I'm saying, that something's about to take place. I'm gonna let this lady, you know, break everything down.
tell my demographic of people that it's over. I don't know how clearer I can say it to us than to say it's over. Our control, our power, our privilege is over. It doesn't matter if you have a Democrat or a Republican in the House, whoever is in control will only push us closer and closer to our inevitable end, which is civil war. And I smile and smirk because I'm ready for that. It is the only way that we're going to get to what we need in order to live in this country. And to be honest, white people, we might not be welcome here when it's all said and done. Are you ready for that? That's if you even accept that we're going into civil war and you can survive that part. Y'all are too busy hanging on to the privilege of our grandparents, thinking that if you just continue just to hold on for dear life, everything will go back to leave it the beaver racist ways when we all had privilege and we were in control and on top of society. No, the pandemic.
So, with that being said, you know what I'm saying? That's why everything that's taking place. You know what I'm saying? It's not a coincidence that she understands that. Because I told you, the inception of the planet is only for temporal power. And that temporal power is the end of the lunar cycle, right? That's when they got their power from the evil reptilian. Because I told you that Saturn, the Saturnians, that's why they call it the Saturn Moon Matrix. Your matrix system, your corporate system was galvanized by getting the power from the evil reptilian. Your monetary system is coming to an end. Your organizations, your enterprises is coming to an end. Your monetary system, you know, your whole system of capitalism, your political infrastructure, your everything that was galvanized by the material world under the lunar cycle, because the moon is a representation of material. All this stuff has got to fade away because it doesn't work in synergy with nature under a sun cycle. That's why the sun cycle is burning all this shit up. That's why the sun is burning all this shit up. That's why, you know, these new X-class solar flares is destroying everything. When you look at this video, these new energies is destroying the material world. And the material world was created by the evil reptilian who gave the power to the beast, the Canaanite, the 13 bloods of the Illuminati that is basically your perception of your so-called European who control everything on this planet. So that's why everything that was created by the Canaanite is starting to be eradicated, because the merging of the physical world and the spiritual world is the symbology of judgment. These X-class solar flares is basically reversing the polarity. These tetrahedron energies is going to activate the pole shift. You know what I'm saying? Everything is being judged right now. Everything is going through galactical judgment, cosmic order, divine intervention. Everything is being mapped out in the heavens. And these energies is coming down that's destroying the material world is a cosmic radiation that's destroying everything in the material world. So it's only a matter of time to where you see this influx of energy that's basically going to have an afflictional energy in a chaos energy that's going to be subjected here on the geographical landmass of the United States of America, which is a corporation.
So, Council, you're looking at weather from literally all around this world, all across this realm, fam, and it is getting drastic. You see the submarine washed up in China, the whole of the Beijing airport underwater, family. This is something that's never happened before. Unprecedented weather, new earth flow, family. Y'all get ready. This is Nibiru, the harbinger. He's flipping the magnetic field, fam, and restoring the flow. Let's go.
All that hell going on, just like in the movie 2012, right? You had all that hell in the summertime. Not a coincidence.
Нахуй, блядь, месяц, блядь. Tā ir bijis iebraukt mektē, bet tur jau viss bija pilns, nebija kur palīdz zem jums. Es viss nāku. Pārbās bumbulīt, ne?
Like I said, this is what you got going on, man. These new energies that's coming in. It's the end of the procession of the equinox. It's the end of the cycle of the Canaanite. So this is why you have stuff like this going on, right? See that? That's why they're giving you the reality of UFO activity. I told you, when you're going to start seeing a lot more of these new energies is coming in. These new energies, like I said, you're going to see the influx of energy of UFO activity basically dematerializing everything in the material world. It's basically destroying everything in the material world. You'll have a lot more blackouts. You're going to have a lot more destructive weather. So this is these X-class, these coronal mass ejections that's coming out. X-class solar flares. X is the symbology of judgment. Plasma energy copulating with the four elements of the world, earth, wind, water, fire, that's reversing the polarity of everything in the material world. Nature is taking back the planet. And nature is connected to the spiritual world. It's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time before all this stuff, all these afflictions is at everybody's doorsteps. Because I told you, America has to be judged. It's connected to a corporation. It's connected to the British monarchy system, right? It's connected to the British monarchy system. You know what I'm saying? This is galvanized by the deceivers who oppose the covenant of no flesh, right? You know what I'm saying? This is the covenant of the people who created, this corporate system, which is connected to the pyramid of evil, right? That is created by the hybrids, the Philistines, the ungodlies, the papacy, the elementals, or when you understand the Gnosticism, which is your archons, and you know what I'm saying, you got the Azazel and the disciples and the fallen angels. And then you got the old earth, which is created by the corporate world leaders that was under the energy of the Canaanite, which is based on organized so-called monotheistic religion. So this is not a coincidence that all this stuff is taking place. Not a coincidence. I told you, the open vortex, you know what I'm saying, that was created by the Philadelphia experiment, because, you have an incremental energy that comes in. that destroys everything on the planet. This tetrahedron energy that has an acute radiation, right? Cosmic radiation. So this is why you got stuff like this going on. Everything on the planet is speeding up in vibration. I told you, when light breaks into a dimension, it reverses the polarity of time. You know what I'm saying? You got light which breaks into dimension. UV radiation is a detoxifier. So like I said, this is why you have people out in China, you know what I'm saying, who are also part of the 11 sons of Canaan, that bloodline, you know what I'm saying? They are the ones who also amalgamate because they also have 6 ether genetical properties. So they cannot withstand the UV. That's why they're creating UV resistant fabrics, which is known as like a face skin, basically, to basically hide from the sun. Because if you really from this planet, you wouldn't be hiding from the sun, right? That's how you know, the Canaanite was cursed with leprosy, because when the evil reptilian, when he came down to the planet, or these fallen ones, the cherubim, the 200 fallen angels, they copulated with the Canaanite that was created by Yakub, right? And when they copulated, that's when they was cursed with leprosy. When you curse with leprosy, that puts an encryption on your genetical structure, and it puts an encryption on your mental faculties, to where you don't reap the benefits of ascension when the planet is going through a pole shift, right? So this is why I remember you seen those videos over in China when they had those people, they were just like, spazzing out. They was like on the ground vibrating. Like I said, their mental faculties is not connected to the ascension process, because the mind, you know what I'm saying, the mental plane is connected to the heavens, right? So when the planet is going through a dimensional shift, a spiritual shift connected to the material world, your whole concept of the dimensional shift is when you have the 5th dimension merging in with the 3rd dimension, physical world and the spiritual world. So when you don't have the mental faculties to connect with the heavens within you that connects with the planet, like I said, it's going to basically put an encryption on your mental capacity, and it's going to put an encryption on your physical vessel, because you don't belong here. And you know what I'm saying? Look at it. He got some nerve meditating. You can't even be in the sun, and you out there meditating. Boy. You meditate, bro. Don't, man. Delusion. You know what I'm saying? Hide from the sun. Hide from these X-class solar flares, right? So it's not a coincidence that, Elon Musk, putting out the Twitter X, because like I told you, they got to give you the truth, you know what I'm saying? But it's up to you to have the mental and spiritual fortitude to see beyond everything on the planet. You got to have spiritual discernment, right? So I told you, X is the symbology of the physical and the spiritual world merging in together, right? It's an intersection of energies, right? So this is why, like I said, you got these new energies coming in. It's not a coincidence that, you know what I'm saying, these new energies also activates the supersonic energy, which is the battery of planet Earth, which is the black sun. And the black sun is basically creating all the affliction on the surface of the planet. So from my opinion, the same thing that you see happening in Greece with these trees is, in my opinion, I think that's what happened in Hawaii, right? Planet is activated. Pure plasmic energy, pure cosmic energy. Right? Pure cosmic energy, because like I told you, when you look at the word pyramid, a tetrahedron energy, a tetraangular radiation that has acute radiation, cosmic energy. When you look at the word pyramid, you break down the prefix and the suffix, it means fire in the middle, right? Everything's internal. All these energies, you know what I'm saying, where you reap the benefits of ascension, all these energies, your soul, right? The soul of the earth, the black sun is activating everything that's inside the soul of everything that's connected to physical matter on planet Earth. You see what I'm saying? So I think I got anything else to show you. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching this video. Because I said it's imperative. Everything is starting to speed up. You're going to hear a lot more rumors of UFO activity. You're going to hear a lot more rumors of extraterrestrials invading certain geographical locations. You're going to hear a lot more, you know what I'm saying, people hiding from the sun. You're going to see a lot more afflictional energy, cosmic energy coming down to the planet and basically destroying everything in the physical world. The destruction of the corporate system, the destruction of the Canaanite beast in his matrix system, who he galvanized from the cherubim, the 200 fallen angels, who are your evil reptilian, right? The evil reptilian got his power from the beast, transliteration of the book of Revelations of 1717, right? So it's not a coincidence that all this stuff is connected to the movie, The Last Voyage of Demeter. The Last Voyage of Demeter, when you break down the etymology of the word Demeter, it means the daughter of Chronos, chronology, trapped in the artificial time analysis mechanism. Chronos is connected to Crossy of democracy because there is no such thing as democracy, right? When you was a little kid, when you was in third grade, in second grade, when you had to say the Pledge of Allegiance, I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the Republic. It didn't say to the democracy because there's no such thing as democracy, because democracy was created by the Canaanite, because democracy in itself is the shadow government. The shadow government is what threw off the spiritual energy of the planet under a lunar cycle that combated everything in the sun cycle, right? So the material world is galvanized by that same energy. You see what I'm saying? So because, like I said, time is created by the lunar cycle that's connected to the energy of the moon, the quadrants of the moon that works in symbiotic connection of Saturn, your Saturnians, your cherubim, who gave the power to the Canaanite that keep you in a corporate system, that puts a hex over your mental capacity, that puts a subjugation over your physical vessel. You see what I'm saying? So everything that, you know what I'm saying, that's, you know, taking place right now is actually working in synergy. But like I said, you got to activate the spiritual eye to see beyond the illusion. You got to, you know what I'm saying, you got to be grounded. You got to be very disciplined. You know what I'm saying? You got to be very meticulous about how everything is taking place on the planet. Galvanize your resources. You know what I'm saying? You don't know when the energy grid is going to go down, because these X-class solar flares is coming to the planet. They're coming down, these coronal mass ejections, and it's activating the Schumann resonance that's causing a spike. Like I said, it goes from 7.86 megahertz frequency to 13.13 megahertz frequency, which is the Queen Mother Seal, the energy of Mother Nature taking back the planet. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching this video. This is one of my most important broadcasts that I put out. You know what I'm saying? I did a video, kind of, you know, I did an interview with Black Magic 363. Shout out to Brother Rich for having me on his channel. We did a synopsis over this video, but this is more of a definitive broadcast that's connected to everything I did in that interview. So it's not, so the thing is, man, you really got to be prepared for what's going to be taking place on the planet, because it's not a joke. It's not a conspiracy. It's nothing to be played about. You know what I'm saying? Everything is being activated on the planet. You know what I'm saying? You got the plasma discharges that's connected to the four alchemical elements on the planet: earth, wind, water, fire. These energies is activating everything that's connected to the planet and connected to the energy of nature. So if you're not working in symbiotic connection with the planet, you're going to be discarded. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching this video. End of transmission.